What's up everybody, and welcome back to Ark Survival Ascendant, and welcome to the very first Nautarsis video of 2024. So in today's video, we're going to be going over something that I very much enjoyed in Ark Survival Evolved, and I'm going to continue to enjoy in Ark Survival Ascendant, but there are some differences in the way that breeding works in Ark Survival Ascendant. So I'm actually in my single player world because I'm going to be using some commands and a little bit of cheating. You can see I'm already in creative mode, but there's some things that I want to test out. So let's go. So before we can jump into how my thinking has changed in Ark Survival Ascendant, we need to go back and look at Ark Survival Evolved. And because this guide is going to be focusing mostly on the why of things instead of the how, if you're brand new to breeding, I would recommend checking out Tia Aurora's guide to breeding, the complete mutation and breeding guide for Ark Survival Ascendant. I'm going to leave a link to this video in the description below. Go ahead and check that out. All right, let's talk about how breeding worked in Ark Survival Evolved. So you would go out and you would tame some dinos. They would have random stat distribution, but a lot of times one of the stats or more would have a higher level than the other. So if you went out and got a bunch of dinos, let's say we got 6 Rexes, and by some miracle each of them had one stat that was higher than the others. We took them and we bred them all together to make our S tier breeder. This is the S tier breeder. Is the combination of all of the attributes, the best attributes from all of these 6 dinos. It just happened to work out that each of them has 50 points into one of the stats, because math is hard and 50 points works best. So what you end up with is 300 points distributed throughout the different stats. So the 300 points translates into 300 levels. Everything starts at level 1, even if it has 0 stats, so you end up with a 301. Now, I know what you're saying. That's not a bad fighter. Level 301 with 50 points in the health and 50 points in the damage. That's pretty strong. But is it though? You know, some of the late tier alpha bosses and the overseer, you might not do so well with this. So you want something that's going to be super strong. So you want to mutate. Here's the problem. Most places that you're going to play are going to have a level cap of 450. Now we are already pretty close to capping out this dino. You have a level 301 plus the 88 points from leveling it up equals a 389. At 389, you only have 61 more levels to work with. So you have to decide, where do you want these points to go? Do you want 30 points into health and 30 points into damage? Do you want to put all 61 points into damage? Like, what do you want to do? You are more limited because this dino has wasted points. Oxygen, food, even weight, wasted. So let's look at some actual stats from dinos on the server. We have our very first Rex that we tamed right here. It was wild 174, and it tamed at level 260. I can get my keyboard to do the thing. There we go. Level 260. So at level 260 plus 88, we end up with a 348. With 348, that's going to leave us with 102 levels to work with. So it's a bit better. It's not 61. We can put 50 points into damage and HP, and we'll have 90 and 92. That's pretty good. That's a pretty strong fighter. However, if you want to go even further, if you want to go even beyond really good, we do what we did on the server, and we find this low level dude here, I don't remember what the HP and all that was, but I do know that it had low food and low oxygen. So we're going to breed this guy with our higher level one because we want the food and the oxygen to transfer over. And I'll show you what happens then. Get rid of that. Let's bring in the breeders that we have currently on the server. There they are. So our breeders on the server right now have 41 HP, 43 stamina, 11 oxygen, 13 food, 42 weight, 46 damage. So what does this do for us? It gives us a level 201. 201 plus the 88. Putting a shift on that is a 289. That's going to leave us with 161 levels to work with that we can divide amongst whatever stats that we want. Now, if we wanted to, one of the things I used to do a lot in Survival Evolved was I would go out and I would collect dinos that had 0 stats. So I would find a level 5 or a level 12 or something like that, and it would have 0 stats on the attributes. Then I would breed them together in order to make to have a level 1. I would breed for a level 1. People used to get a kick out of it. But what would happen is I would be able to create an uber breeder. Uber breeder has 41 HP, 43 stamina, 46 damage, 0 points into oxygen, food, and weight. So this is the absolutely most optimized base breeder that I could come up with based on the highest level stats that I have available. So what does that do to the numbers? We have our level 131. It's going to get 88 levels. It's going to come out to a 219. So at 219, that's going to leave us with 231 points that we can spend on mutating this dino. So we're going to do that. Not with this because we don't actually have that. This is what we actually have. So we're going to breed these together and we're going to get a mutation. And the mutation is going to look like this. So it's going to mutate one time and it's going to take our 41 points in the HP. We're going to turn it into 43. That's with one mutation because one mutation equals 2 levels or 2 points. So now we have this mutated Rex. We're going to get rid of that male. We're going to breed this one back to our clean female. So you always want to breed mutated to clean. You never want to breed mutated to mutated because what happens is if you breed mutated to mutated, you run the risk of not getting a mutation, but your mutation counter is going to go up. So even though these are both, they have one mutation as far as the stat goes, if you breed these together, their mutation counter is going to be 2. You're going to miss out on future mutations. So breed the mutated back to the clean, and you keep doing that until you end up with however high you want to go with the mutations. So we're up to 5. We've mutated the Rexes 5 times. It's up to 51 HP. So then I'm off on an adventure out in the world, and I find this guy. Look at this monster. He has a base HP of 55 points. That's higher than our mutated HP right now. I want this 55 in my breeding line. So what do? Well, unfortunately, I cannot breed this with this one. Because in Ark Survival Evolved, this is a baked-in stat now. The 55 HP, this is the baked-in stat. Because the mutations are just being added to the base stat. The game does not separate mutations from base stats. So this is just 51 with 5 mutations. If I breed these two together, I'm going to get 51 or I'm going to get 55, but either way, it's going to have 5 mutations, and I'm not going to be able to mutate it as much. So what I end up having to do is start over. I got to get rid of those that I've mutated already. Now I'm going to breed this guy to a clean breeder, and I'm going to get that 55 to pass on. I'm starting over from scratch with this one until I end up with 55, 43, 11, 13, 42, 46. And then I start over. I start mutating. So here's the good news as far as survival ascendant goes. Okay, so I set up a bit of a demonstration. I need to get on the boat and go over to it. Oh. There we go. Didn't want to load. Let's go over to this little island over here where I set up the demonstration. Everything looks kind of funny because I accidentally used the command wrong. I was building the test for the 2024, so I used a command that clears the foliage, and I added too many numbers and ended up clearing like 10,000 squares of trees. I thought I was going to crash my game. I thought I was going to crash my whole computer, but it ended up being okay. All right, let's get over here. Okay, turn off the boat. So this compound was built for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to breed massive amounts of penguins. Look at them all. Let me close the door so nothing gets in. Oh my gosh, the lag over here is ridiculous. So I have these penguins along the wall. These were all bred from a normal, well, not a normal pair. It was bred from a level 1 and a level 450 together. And I did that just to verify that the stats were going to carry over the same way that they do in Survival Evolved. And they do. So as long as there's not a mutation involved, the stat is either going to be a direct inheritance from the mother or the father. So like this one is level 90 or has 95 points in the health. It inherited that from the father more than likely. The father was a level 1. Yes. And the higher stats are going to be from the mother. So like the 812 melee damage probably came from the mother. Okay. So those were kind of irrelevant. They were just for a more generalized test of the breeding. These over here are the ones that I actually did a bunch of breeding with. I bred over 20,000 penguins in this little building in order to get some mutations and test how the mutations work. So I got these 2 level 1s. I bred them together until I got this. This is a mutation into health, and I did that 5 times. So I got it all the way up to a level 11, and is what? Actually, let me spawn in a binoculars. So you won't have access to this until much later. I think you have to kill the overseer, alpha overseer, to get this. But regardless, we'll use it to kind of demonstrate this. So if you see at the top line there, the health is 132 or 33.2. You have some brackets that have a 0, and then a 2, and then a 0. So the first number, the first 0, is the wild point distribution, or the tamed point distribution. So once you tame it, let's find one of these. So like this one. So it inherited 86 points from the mother. Those 86 points in health came from the tamed levels. Okay. So on this one, it has no tamed levels because it's a level 3. The only points it has is the mutation in the middle category. So you've got tamed points, the middle section is mutated points, and then the last one, if I was to spend a point in HP, you would see that last number go up. So you have, the first one is tamed points, the middle one is mutations, and the last one is tamed points. So, leveled up points. So here's why that's important. So you remember on our diagram, we had the 5 mutations shooting something. We had the 5 mutations, and then we came across the dino with the better base stat. Well, in Ark Survival Evolved, we couldn't do anything with that. Ark Survival Ascendant is different. That being its own stat, the mutation being its own number that the game tracks, allows you to move that mutation onto better base dinos. So what I did is I got all the way up to level 11, 10 mutation levels on this for 285 points into health. And then I made this guy. So I spawned this in. This is not a natural penguin, obviously. And it has 100 points on its tamed health. So if I was to find this in the wild, in Survival Evolved, I had this 100 points and I had these 10 mutated points, I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. I would just have to start mutating this one all over, and I would lose those mutations. Here's what happened when I bred them together here. So this was the worst case scenario, breeding the this guy and this guy together. This is the worst case. So this did not inherit anything. It didn't inherit the parents' tamed points, and it didn't inherit the parents' mutated levels. So that is an option. It is an option that it would not inherit either of those things. So unfortunately, I ended up with a level 1 with, if you look it down at the bottom, it has 5 mutation points. So it has a mutation counter of 5 and no benefit whatsoever. So this is another option. All this one did was just pass the mutation on. So the mutation points of 10 is on there. But it didn't have the 100 tamed points. So this is another option. This one actually I got another mutation on. So it mutated one more into health. It's just crazy. It's crazy that it would happen on health. Here is your best case scenario and the exciting part about the new breeding mechanics in Ark Survival Ascendant. Look at that. This inherited the 100 tamed points and the 10 mutation points. So right now, this dino, or this penguin, it's not a dino, but this penguin has 110 points into health. How exciting is that? So what that means is you can go out and get literally any male and female pair of dinos in the Ark, any of them, anywhere, and start mutating right now. You can mutate them as high as you can ever think to mutate them, and it doesn't matter. You build up all those mutations, and then as soon as you find a dino with a high enough base stat, you just pass the mutation on. So great. It's so great. All right, so let's go back over to the base. Actually, let's jump onto the server. Well, it's raining on the server, but we're back on the server. It feels good to be here, back from the single player land. Yeah, it was actually kind of weird playing there. It's been a little while since I've done any kind of, well, that's not true, because I did the test for the 2024 on the single player. Anyway, so what I wanted to go over is the Megatheriums. This is where I am with those. I bred up, I combined the stats, the best stats, and this is them. We've got 4 females, these are all clean, and 1 male. The thing about it is you remember how unhappy I am about this Megatherium stats? Well, in reality, now that we know what we know, it doesn't even matter. This thing can have whatever level it wants, because the mutations can just be passed on to some other better base stat breeder down the line with no penalties. So really, if your goal is to min-max your dinos, if you want to have min-maxed breeders, your best option in Survival Ascendant is going to be to breed the lowest level that you can find and just mutate the stats you want. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I think I'm going to use the Megatheriums because we're not in a good spot with these guys. 34 health. I think 34 was the best stat on this. Yeah, garbage. So, since we're not in a good spot, I'm going to take all these guys out. I'm going to start over. I'm going to go find some low-level Megatheriums, and we're going to go through the process of breeding them into the most powerful boss fighters in the world. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they're going to be super powerful, and I'm very excited to show you guys. Well, folks, I know this is going to be a bit of a shorter one, and there was a lot of monologuing and tutorializing, but yeah, I think that gives you a pretty good idea of my methodology and my thought process behind how the breeding works, at least in my mind. And I'm super excited to try some new stuff with breeding going forward. So in between videos, I'm going to definitely go get some Megatheriums and get that started. And yeah, I'm excited to show you the results. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments or join the Discord and ask in there. But until next time, take it easy.